Chapter 39. Into the Arcane. This needs to be studied. The reception area seemed to be clear, thankfully. Still, saying that, we'd already wrecked the robots that were probably guarding it before the Steel Rangers came along. Still, no one was keen on rushing this place. We slowly moved into the building, me at the front with the others close behind, keeping an eye out for any surprises that might come our way. And so too did the Steel Rangers themselves follow in after that, one giant hoof step at a time. They were huddled around the scribe protectively, ensuring that at least one of the ponies who could shut this place down didn't get shot. There were several more destroyed robots already in here, along with several points along the roof that had stray wires and charred metal hanging from it. The remnants of the last time the Rangers had rolled through, I'd guess. Aside from that, the room looked quite bare-boned. Or maybe efficient was the word. There didn't seem to be much in the way of decoration, even before the bombs fell. It was just a plain room with a single reception desk dominating the center. The desk was circular, with several busted terminals sitting on it, though not much else. "We've already taken anything of value in this section," Scribe Roland explained. "From those terminals mostly. There wasn't much else to see. It seems the Ministry Mare preferred function over form, and wasn't one to flaunt herself." "That sounds about right," Cobalt muttered. "Leave all of the flash to the Ministry of Morale and Image. All Twilight Sparkle cared for was efficiency." "Ten Pony Tower would beg to differ," I'd noted. "That was different, given its dual nature. You haven't seen the actual hub up top, where we in the Twilight Society usually spend our time. Anything interesting?" "None of the fancy things you'd see in the lobby or around the rooms. Metallic. Efficient. Everything you would expect from a mare of science." "Cut the chatter," McRoar annoyingly demanded. "Take the door to the right. Move down the corridor. Slowly." "Sir, yes, sir." Ugh, Moonblossom sarcastically said with a gag. If that pissed the Steel Ranger off, thankfully, he didn't comment. Instead, I just nodded at the others to follow, as we moved past the reception and further into the hub. I had my assault rifle pulled and pointed ahead of me, and I must admit to feeling very military right now. That's definitely because of the Steel Rangers. Don't worry, I'm sure it'll all devolve into the usual chaos the first time we spot a fucking sentry bot. The corridor we next stepped into was also rather plain. Another few destroyed turret emplacements hanging from the ceiling. There were some signs up ahead. Most were pointing to some offices and the toilets, but a couple of them read for a science lab and an atrium. "We're going to want to head in through the atrium," Roland stated. "We cleared the science lab and the offices in this section on the last expedition. Nothing of note. The former seemed to be where they'd test out new interns. Those offices are where we found the reference to the mainframe." "So, once we get into the atrium, we are in unfamiliar territory?" Xena asked. "Be ready," McRoar commanded. We turned a corner, bunching up by a large set of doors that were already open. And inside was a very large room. It was even bigger than a stable atrium, and it also had a completely different aesthetic. The door in front of us led to the bottom floor, though peering into the large space, I could see that it went up at least 3 more stories. At the very top of the atrium was a shattered glass dome that let in what little sunlight could reach the surface, lighting up the desolate place. It actually looked a little nicer than the other areas we had been, the odd wood paneling mixing in with the cold metals. The center of the room also seemed to hold various tables and chairs, alongside vending machines for both Sunrise Sarsaparilla and Sparkle Cola. I definitely had to hit up those before we left. Still, it was blatantly something of a communal break area for the staff, probably why it had an ever so slightly friendlier look to it. Or it would have done, 200 years ago anyway. Now it was filled with broken glass from the skylight and rubble from where bits of the walls had given away to time. One of the vending machines was also broken, take that sunrise sarsaparilla, and many of the tables and chairs were in general disarray. Oh, and of course, there were skeletons. There was always a skeleton or two. Still, I couldn't see any robots yet. My EFS was also clear, though a few more wrecks were dotted around the area. The last we'd see pre-broken for a while if the Steel Rangers never got further in than this before. So, what happened the last time you got here? Cobalt asked the Star Paladin. Our unit pushed into the Atrium while scribes finished cataloging everything we had cleared. Mick Rohr explained. Our knights pushed into the Atrium and cleared the bottom floor, but when they attempted to access the next floor, they were caught in a crossfire when the machines got reinforcements from further in. Our forces had to pull back and defend the scribes, and they were then evacuated when their work was complete. We haven't been back since. Then let's not waste any time, Scribe Roland stated. The civvies are leading the way. Let's get to where we're going, and fast. Just watch your corners. Don't make the mistake that we did and get yourselves ambushed. Noted, I dryly said back, taking my first step into the atrium and looking upwards to the other floors. There didn't seem to be anything waiting for us this time, but I knew that could and would change on the flip of a cap. Things stayed quiet as we moved past the scattered tables and chairs, taking a moment to search around the room as the Steel Rangers kept watch. There were staircases either side of the room leading up to the next floor, small piles of ash still being scattered along the steps. The last ponies who had tried to get up them, I'd imagine. Grim. I ignored those for the time being. Instead, I started moving towards the back of the room while hitting up the intact vending machines along the way. With delicious sparkle cola now in my saddlebags, I made sure to check the 2 elevators along the back wall. Predictably, nothing happened when I pressed the button. There was a metal clang from behind me, and I turned to see that Moonblossom had idly kicked a destroyed Mr. Gutsy that was between 2 overturned tables. A couple of Steel Rangers looked her way, probably glaring at her from behind their helmets, but she remained oblivious. Well, this is all a bunch of junk, she commented. Where's the excitement at? According to the map, we should be on track for the mainframe, 1 floor up and through the far door, the scribe noted, examining her own pip-buck. I guess she was following her own map marker, though mine looked like it was only leading towards the office. Which, might I add, looked like it was right at the far end of the building on the top floor. Move on up the stairs, Star Paladin Mick Rohr said. We're waiting. All right, just give us a moment, I snapped back at the impatient tin can, giving the floor one last look before moving towards the leftmost staircase. Cobalt and Xena started to follow me up, Moonblossom and Ultrix opening their wings and simply flying up to the next floor. And that's when the first red bar appeared. Never mind! I heard Moonblossom shout as I spied her grab Ultrix's head fin between her teeth and yank the startled changeling back over the railing and to a rough landing on one of the tables below. Worse still were the red beams that followed their fall. Ah, those things are angry! 2, 3, 4, 7 red bars appeared on my eyes forward sparkle in quick succession. Weapons free! Mick Rohr bellowed as he started to fire up at the first Mr. Gutsy to poke its eye stalk up. Another appeared at the top of the stairs, a red beam of magic sparking inches above our heads. Not exactly keen on getting more than those few singed hairs, I brought my rifle around and started laying into that machine. Simultaneously, Xena fired a round at the Mr. Gutsy along with a bolt of magic from Cobalt. All our attacks laid waste to the robot, shredding through its armor and causing it to burst into flames. More red bars were appearing, looking like they were coming from the upper floors. "Unless we want to share the last expedition's fate, we need to get upstairs," Roland urged. "Move your asses, then!" I shouted back at them, rushing forwards to try and find some cover. I couldn't see what the others were doing as I made a dive behind a pillar, which seemed to be one of the few actual things that could be used as cover up here. There was little up on this floor, just another set of stairs either side leading further up, and a whole bunch of doors leading elsewhere. And of course, the one door we needed to go through was the one that had robots defending it. Taking a moment to get my bearings, I saw a fuck ton of magical weapons fire being hurled down at us from the upper floors, my friends scampering up for cover while the Steel Rangers took the brunt of the damage, while doing their best to avoid any pulses sent their way. Still, there was a ceiling turret and 6 more Mr. Gutsy robots between us and the door. Unless we could get through it, it was only a matter of time before those robots all came down the stairs and absolutely fucked us up. Fortunately, the robots were grouped up. I used my Pip-Buck's inventory spell to quickly collect a fragmentation grenade from my saddlebags, pulling the pin and letting it cook for a moment. Looking around the pillar, Cobalt and Roland were struggling to maintain a shield around the Steel Rangers they had just placed to negate the pulses that were coming their way, momentarily stopping their armor from being shorted out. The moment that happened, we were toast. Let's hope this works. I let the grenade fly, the small apple-like device bouncing between the robots and detonating in a cloud of fragmentation. One had its legs and thruster ripped off, the body being thrown over the edge. The 2 more were critically damaged and shredded, while the other 3 all scattered to safety. The Steel Rangers were not going to waste the opening. The shield dropped, and in a stampede they all charged forwards and into the defenders. The 3 intact machines were pounced upon and stamped into dust before they could try to disable them. The 2 damaged ones who had lost their own pulse weapons trying to move back and fire their normal weapon at the incoming ponies and power armor. The red beams did little as they fired back, faring much worse and quickly being destroyed. Xena emerged from her own cover and took aim at the turret as it tried to shoot a Steel Ranger, the machine exploding in a shower of sparks and debris after a single round was shot into it. "Die, you invading zebra scum!" I heard a Mr. Gutsy shout as more began to pile in from the upper floors. "Get through!" McRoar shouted, he and his knights turning to unleash suppressing fire at the robotic reinforcements. "Now!" We didn't argue, moving back and through the doorway alongside Scribe Roland. The Steel Rangers waited for us to be into the next corridor before they also started to back themselves inside, the last one ensuring to close up the door behind us. I was starting to see why the last few times they attempted this didn't go so well. "Well, we've set a new record," Roland dryly commented. "We're lucky not so many piled in onto the first floor this time," McRoar chided. "Still, we're here. Keep moving. They'll keep on our tails until we succeed or die." We moved down the corridor, back to the bland, metallic, faceless efficiency. Roland stuck with us now, while the other Steel Rangers took the rear, the mare following the direction given to her by her Pip-Buck. We were only a short way in when 2 more turrets descended from the ceiling. Moonblossom acted instantly, dashing forward and latching onto one of them, jamming her knife in and using it to all but pry the weapon from the frame. The second turret fired down at us, a beam hitting and thankfully failing to breach Cobalt's armor, before it itself was absorbed in a flurry of gunfire, as we and the Rangers all opened up on it. It was gone after the first few shots. Moonblossom discarded the electronics she had torn out, rejoining us as we moved on. There were a few branches in the corridor that we ignored, Roland keeping us moving directly ahead. As we reached one branch, a red bar to my left appeared as we passed. Taking in a deep breath, I launched myself into sats before whatever it was had a chance to kill any of us. It was a Protect-A-Pony, the robot in the middle of turning around to face us as I lined up 3 shots on its torso before letting it rip. In 3 bursts, my bullets managed to breach the armor and hit something vital, the robot swaying and sparking as all senses seemed to leave it. Must eliminate. Must eliminate. Must eliminate. There was one more spark, and the robot collapsed into a heap. From there, we quickly approached the end of the long corridor, and up ahead I could see 2 more broken elevators and 2 more branches. What I didn't see, however, was any kind of indication that we were heading towards this mainframe. "Where to next, Scribe?" McRoar asked. "We move right until we reach the 2nd branch left," she reported. "From there, we move again to the end of the corridor, where there should be another small passage to the left, which ends in a staircase. According to these diagrams, that's where the building's own generators and computer control systems are located." "And that includes the mainframe for the robotic defenses?" Cobalt asked. "It should. All we need to do is find the right mainframe," Roland confirmed. "I'm sure you can handle that?" "We'll manage," I retorted. Reaching the end of the corridor, I glanced at the elevator to our left. Unlike the other, this one was open, and inside was the skeleton of a pony in a yellow hard hat, a toolbox held in his hooves. And then the building threw all it had at us. "They've got the door open!" And I'd shouted, red bars bursting onto my EFS in droves as all the robots from the Atrium started to pour in. And then, all the worse, the wall between the 2 elevators started to shift. The panel slid away, and from a hidden alcove rolled out the largest robot I had ever had the displeasure of seeing up close. I could feel a pit opening in my stomach as I observed the 3 large treaded legs, thick armor plating, and 2 enormous and bulky arms ending in a minigun and rocket launcher respectively. Yeah, that's a sentry bot. "Fuck!" was all I could say as it rolled forwards, right into me since I was at the front of the group. Even I heard the red magical laser beams start to fly. All I could do was try to brace myself as the robot lifted one of its arms and brought it down towards me. I tried to use my rifle as some kind of shield, but it felt like being hit by our own Sky Bandit as it smashed into me. I felt myself fly for just a moment, before pain erupted throughout my body as I smashed into the back wall of the open elevator. I could see my pip-buck urgently flashing red out of the corner of my eye, even as my vision shifted and swam almost hypnotically. I was just about to regain my bearings, enough so to see star-pallided McRoar and Moonblossom both brazenly charge into the sentry bot, grappling with the giant war machine, as the others tried to hold off the incoming swarm, Roland and Cobalt again attempting to deflect incoming pulses. And then the elevator shuddered. And then I was falling.